This video is brought to you by Brand, an awesome supernatural comic by writer Antonio Bryce and Image Comics artist Kanan White. If you love comics as much as I do and want to support these fantastic artists, visit the Indiegogo link in the description below.
"42 seconds of logos, mostly for companies that probably don't exist anymore."
Yep, not true. Obviously, Lionsgate is still a thing. DNA Films produced Annihilation last year, and Reliance is an Indian production company that partially owns DreamWorks Studios.
America is an irradiated wasteland.
Tell me something I don't know.
Sure, this isn't a sin, this isn't funny at all, shit about comics, gravity exists in space, that you're sending something you agree with, shit about women, literally anything about science.
Mega blocks, mega highways.
Megalodons?
Anything about screenwriting, anything about Star Wars, the books actually matter. My dick is bigger than yours. Hey, PB, he's moved on to the next thing, dude. Oh, sorry, I guess I got carried away listing all the things you didn't know. Anyway, everything wrong with Dredd, ladies and gentlemen. Megalodons!
Mega City 1.
Clever name. Did you have a contest among school children, or did you just all immediately realize the brilliance? Way better than what I would have gone with, which would have been something like Diseaseopolis or Dirt City.
Mega City 1 is so named because A, it is a megalopolis, and B, it was the first one formed, genius.
Convulsing. Choking.
Dredd perfectly describes my first sexual encounter.
Look, man, self-deprecation is cool and all, but why is it you always revert to some cringy sexual stuff? There are 5 writers at CinemaSins, and all you could come up with is, I'm bad at sex.
The men and women of the Hall of Justice.
Well, at least in their pursuit of justice, they aren't wasting tons of money powering a giant eagle light sign outside their building. Wait, they f***ing are?
Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche. And before I ding him, I was asked by one of my subscribers to explain this sin, and it confused me because I thought it was obvious. But basically, whenever I say this, it's to point out that Jeremy is just saying what he sees on the screen and is treating that as a sin. And as we already know, a sin is something that is wrong with a film. In this case, Jeremy is simply stating that a government agency is wasting money. As if that is somehow unrealistic. But that could just be one of the reasons the population hates the judges, because judges represent fascism and power, while the population struggles to eat. I'd say that's excellent world building. Anyway, hope that helps.
Juries. Executioners.
Clerks, typists, coffee vendors.
Jeremy mocks future Birdman. Fuck that guy.
If we weren't having so many issues with music lately, I'd cut in the score from Matrix Reloaded when Trinity reverses course and drives the motorcycle against traffic. It goes like this.
10 sins in, and nothing so far has been everything wrong with Dredd. This is what happens when you send really good movies, man. You have to pad the sin count with nonsensical jokes to make sure the videos fulfill YouTube's 10-minute requirement for mid-rolls.
Driving erratic. Suspects are under the influence of narcotics.
Mind you, they are on narcotics, but seriously, how would he know this? Pretty sure he's a judge and not a doctor, Jim.
How would he know this? I mean, he literally just said,
Driving erratic.
Dredd has been doing this for a long time, and he's the best judge there is. I would say that Dredd is making an educated guess based on his experience, and he's obviously right anyway.
This movie is fun. The editing of this early car chase scene, not fun. Vomit-inducing.
What? This is one of the tamest car chases you will ever see in an action film. It only looks crazy here because you've sped up the footage. This is an outright lie. Anyone who has seen this film can attest.
Dredd Theft Auto.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
All shoppers are reminded to avoid the level 1 food courts until further notice.
Food courts.
Food courts? Because everybody hates food courts, am I right?
Zooted dog.
Pointing things out on the screen cliche.
You aren't a very good negotiator, Judge. You know why? You got no leverage.
There are many, many cool things about this movie, but these opening scene villains are not one of them. It's as if they had some leftover villain scraps from RoboCop 3.
But what does this even mean? You can't just say things and then automatically count that shit as a sin. Granted, I don't think these guys are cool, but they serve a narrative purpose in setting up Dredd as a badass.
I said, hotshot.
If you could fire into dude's mouth, was there really any reason to use the hotshot round instead of a regular bullet? Other than to alert the audience to the fact that these judge guns have multiple types of rounds?
This is called the rule of cool, a trope that states a piece of media will try to be as entertaining as it can be, opposed to making logical sense. Could he have shot him with a bullet? Sure. But that's not as entertaining. And yes, as you've answered yourself, this doubles as an introduction to the lawgiver and its myriad functions.
Casual blood sweeping.
I'm not going to bore you all with the pointing things out on the screen gag because he does it way too much in this video, so I'll just give him 10 sins and call it a day.
She's a mutant.
I am sick and tired of movies making mutants out to be scorn-worthy by the very nature of their mutation. They didn't ask for this.
Okay, but this isn't a case of that though. There is one person who makes mutants out to be a bad thing in this entire film, and that dude is one of the villains.
She's the most powerful psychic we've ever come across by a huge margin.
I guess Miss Cleo didn't survive the radiation.
Call me now for your free read-in.
In these 5 sins, bitch.
A rookie judge on assessment is likely to be involved in armed combat. 1 in 5 don't survive the first day.
1 in 5? That seems like terrible odds. Who the would want to be a judge?
The hardest of core.
41 seconds of slow-motion water shenanigans.
That's funny, coming from a guy that has spent 161 seconds so far talking about complete nonsense.
12 serious crimes reported every minute. 17,000 per day.
Hold up, 17,000 serious crimes per day? In a city with 800 million citizens? That's a crime rate of, so low it's mathematically zero. This movie makes it seem like the crime outnumbers the cops so bad it's near a breaking point, but then throws out statistics to suggest the crime here is pretty minimal overall.
Finally, a real criticism. For a second there, I considered removing a sin, considering up to this point the sins have been so nonsensical, your normal brainless criticism seemed like a breath of fresh air. Anyway, Dredd is referring to his sector, Sector 13. That is actually an incredible crime rate. You cut out the part of the scene where Dredd mentions that the judges can only respond to 6% of those crimes.
17,000 per day. We can respond to around 6%.
Which 6%?
Your show, rookie. You tell me.
Unemployment rate of 96%. And more than half the residential levels here are classed as slums.
You think? 96% unemployment here? Honestly surprised the slum percentage isn't higher.
This building is under the control of the Ma clan, and it's implied that a lot of the people living here are either direct subordinates of Ma or their families work for her. They might be unemployed in the traditional sense, but the drug money is more or less keeping everything running.
Nothing to see here.
Everything wrong with Dredd, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever that bullshit was.
Took over the top floor of the block and started working her way down.
How did she get up to the top in the first place? And with enough firepower to take over? Did she parachute in? Movie yada yada's a lot of and thinks its raw style will make you forget. And it mostly does.
It's actually explained fairly well. After she killed her pimp, she took over his business and formed her own gang. And if you're seriously asking how she physically got to the top of this building, I don't know what to say to you at this point.
So the slow-mo just works automatically? Even a hit of acid or shrooms takes at least 25 minutes to kick in.
Yes, it just works automatically. That's why it's in the form of a rescue inhaler, which more or less work near instantaneously. I'm an asthmatic, so I would know.
Sir, a helmet can interfere with my psychic abilities.
I think a bullet might interfere with some more.
Almost Human would be excellent at CinemaSins.
Except Judge Dredd is far more perceptive than you, so he'd actually be better suited to being excellent at the Birdman.
Also, couldn't she have the helmet with her to put on when her psychic abilities aren't needed? For instance, when she's f***ing being shot at?
Dude, that is far more cumbersome and would make her less effective in the field, considering she'd always be taking the helmet off or putting it back on.
Hey, she stole her superpower from David Dunn. Wait, is this the real stealth sequel to Unbreakable?
Not only was this another annoying pop culture reference, it's a bad one. David needed to touch someone to see their bad deeds. Anderson does not.
Discount Donald Gleason, holy
So you're just sinning the fact that there's an actor in a movie.
Warned you. Get up. You're headed for the cube.
I get that Dredd is Dudley f***ing Do-Right, but come on. He's got to deal with a possible murderer that skinned 3 people alive, and he's going to give a guy for essentially sitting.
I mean, the guy was breaking the law and Dredd already gave him a chance. Not to mention he is also soliciting and disobeyed a direct order from a judge.
What's going on?
Can't you tell me? You're only f***ing psychic.
But as the movie has constantly demonstrated, she has to be in proximity of a subject, and she also has to concentrate or turn on her powers.
What is this fresh hell? How do I compute what these numbers mean? Why did they start keeping time so f***ing differently in the future?
Son, those are milliseconds.
Shielding must be blocking our transmissions.
Because that's what you do during emergencies. You lock down residential towers and block all radio signals in and out. Who the f*** designed this system?
This is due to the blast shielding that was designed to withstand nuclear attack. It's not for any old emergency. Besides, in the control room, they have communications equipment that obviously works during lockdown.
As for the judges, sit tight or run. Makes no difference, you're mine.
Yeah, but after the judges are killed and Peachtree is back open, won't more judges come and take out Mama? I don't think she thought this through very well.
Except she actually did. Her plan is very well laid out in this scene.
Sooner or later, the Justice Department is going to come through the blast doors looking for their judges. They'll find their bodies all shut up. One on level 25, one in the slow-mo den. Just a bust that went wrong. That means no torture, no raping, no skinning, just a bunch of bullets to the head and chest.
So this proves either you're feigning ignorance about her plan, or you don't edit your sins as you come across information that contradicts them. Either way, it's sinful as shit.
Holy shit, the building's on lockdown, shields are preventing radio signals from going or coming, but the fucking elevators still work?
Yes.
It's you doing a compliant, Judge. There's 10 of us, only 2 of you.
But they're judges. This is like an Imperial droid talking smack to a Jedi just because he's got a dozen droids with him.
See what I mean about you not knowing anything about Star Wars? The hell is an Imperial droid? Do you mean a KX droid? A probe droid? Or are you referring to the Separatist battle droids who had nothing to do with the Empire?
I mean, the fire bullet and now the stun grenade. Feels like this movie is more about gadgets than the story.
That's a grand total of 2 gadgets.
Feels like the movie is all about the gadgets.
Switch weapon to silencer mode. Our best bet now is to go covert.
Except Mama has control of everything, including the cameras and microphone. So what's to stop her from just yelling out your location constantly? Why isn't she doing that right now, actually?
Mama just yelling out their position also has the unfortunate side effect of letting Dredd know the enemy is coming.
And don't shoot unless you're gonna hit.
Wow, exactly what my college girlfriend said to me during her
skip.
The sign says it's broken, but it works as long as you're hitting a button above level 75.
How convenient! They need to get to the top, and this secret elevator with a glitch will help them do that much more quickly.
Dude, the elevator doesn't have a glitch. It's been modified to do this by the Mama clan.
I tried to do this clean, but they wouldn't let me, so now we do it messy.
In what scenario would this be clean? And do we really have a villain poo-pooing the heroes because they didn't want to be brutally murdered? That just seems like non-productive thinking.
Mama is saying that she tried to do this without harming innocent residents, and is now going to use the 3 miniguns to try to kill the judges. Residents be damned.
This guy tries to rattle his captor by talking about basically the massive rape she will receive by his criminal buddies if they catch her. And I'm just over here like, god damn, even Avon Barksdale wasn't this evil. You, sir, need the Holy Spirit.
Sinning a villain for being bad.
So she has big-ass guns, but she's gone all in here with these things. You can't easily and quickly move these big-ass guns to another location. So if you don't kill Dredd here, which you obviously won't, then you have wasted these guns. And now you are the ones who are the ball lickers.
What indication does the movie give you that she can't set these guns up quickly? Hell, how do you know she doesn't just have more miniguns on other levels?
Sure, why not? Mama is now a better gunner on the 50 cal than any of her henchmen. Of course, makes perfect sense.
The movie isn't suggesting that at all. Mama has been characterized as a brutal and sadistic person that takes pleasure in harming others. Maybe she just thought this looked fun and wanted to get in on the action.
If you leave it to me, he doesn't have to speak.
Fair point. In fact, wouldn't this be her strong suit? She could be in the corner of the interrogation room pulling out thoughts as the questions are asked. In fact, if she's this good and has this strong of an ability, isn't sending her out into the field a bit on the unnecessary and potentially wasteful side? If anything were to happen to her, the whole department has wasted a very valuable resource.
The entire point of Anderson being here is to test her. She isn't a judge yet, and while her abilities make her special, she has to pass an assessment for her to even be considered an asset.
Welcome to the inside of your head. It's kind of empty in here.
Did Anderson just create her own Cerebro? Because it looks like Anderson just created her own Cerebro.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference.
You're giving us 2 options, defend or hide.
Is this really the best scenario to pause for all these teaching moments?
Yes. This is just another day for Dredd, and Anderson is still on her assessment.
This seems like a super convenient time for Anderson's psychic abilities to not be working.
In an earlier scene, you specifically mentioned that you understood Anderson's ability required her to actively use it.
But she can control what she chooses to concentrate on, right?
Now you are pretending that you don't know this and that she should be receiving passive information. Jeremy feigns ignorance cliché.
Holy f***, at what point does the height of the building start to f*** with the building's very existence?
Apparently not yet, considering this building is roughly the same height as the real-life Burj Khalifa.
And as for you, Mama, judgment time.
I would give this movie all the sins back if he would say, it's Judgment Night, and Emilio Estevez,
skip.
Incendiary.
Also, why aren't all this guns rounds incendiary? Why ever fire any other type of round?
Really? Why would the judges want to minimize the extreme collateral damage incendiary rounds could cause?
What's the price of a judge these days?
Well, if you're only worth what people are willing to spend, and looking at the box office for this film, I'm guessing about $350.
Who taught you math?
Yeah, I'd be breaking a sweat.
If you hadn't just run out of bullets.
And he knew this how? I'm sure the movie will explain. No? Okay then, carry on.
Are you serious? What the hell were you doing during this scene?
Rapid fire. Incendiary. Armor piercing. Kayaks.
Also, Judge on Judge action was the name of my defense team in college mock trial.
After all the unfortunate bullshit you've apparently gone through at college, I'm pretty sure your college is the same one Manti Te'o's girlfriend went to.
Wait. Are you kidding me? Did you just say wait?
Well, it worked, didn't it?
Wait, don't you mean Lex would be excellent at CinemaSins? Because if not, how the f*** is this a sin?
The code to Mama's chambers is 49436.
In the future, the drug lord of a 70,000 resident tower society who has built a 10-inch steel combination wall to protect her used a 5-digit PIN.
What's the problem? This thing has 10 numbers and 4 letters, giving her a whopping 240,240 possible 5-digit combinations. This doesn't even take into account what the pound and asterisk are for.
This entire level is rigged with enough high explosives to take out the top 50 stories.
Man, it's a shame that this movie couldn't come up with a climax less generic than I've rigged explosives and I've got my finger on the button.
This movie subverts that trope by making the villain bluff.
My heart stops beating. The building blows. Everyone in it, ash.
That's kind of a dick move, though, if you end up dying of natural causes.
Do you honestly think the person who has basically shot up an entire level with miniguns gives a f*** about being perceived as a dick?
This is far too beautiful a death for such an ugly character. Speaking about her soul, not her face.
I don't think falling face first into concrete from a kilometer up is beautiful. Like, at all. But I'd like to point out that even though she's done some bad shit, she was turned into this by her pimp. She's actually the protagonist of the prequel. In a bittersweet way, she kind of deserved these beautiful visuals.
Say, boss, how will folks know that Dredd was right about the transmitter not working from that distance? You mean other than the building not blowing up? Yeah. Let's show that wrist thingy blinking for several seconds, like something's wrong with it. What color? Jesus, Terry, make a f***ing decision for once.
All this bullshit.
But seriously, how does this work? And why even chance it? At this point, couldn't he just take her in alive and they could figure out how to disarm the explosives? He doesn't have to kill her right now. They can carry out her death sentence once they've made sure everyone else at Peachtree survives.
That's not how judgment works. If the sentence is death, the criminal dies right then and there. Also, Dredd is not stupid. As I mentioned to you earlier, he's been doing this for a long time. I'd like to think he'd know when someone is bluffing.
Your assessment's now over.
That thing comes off that easily? And it never came off this whole movie, even on accident?
Jesus Christ, Jeremy. It's probably a fucking magnet. Come on, man.
When I heard you called in a 1024, I thought I'd better check it out.
Hours later?
Hey, Jeremy. What part of this building has been on lockdown until this very moment are you not understanding?
Mama is not the law. I am the law.
It's a lie! It's impossible! I am the law!
I am the law.
The evidence has been falsified! I am the law!
I am the law.
You okay?
I am the law! Put your mask on. Chase a chick. Never chase a bitch. Yeah! Put your mask on.